morning, everyone. My name is Ramiro Lopez, and my speech is going to be about censorship and social media. And first of all, I would like to ask you guys, how many of you have a social media account, like Facebook or Instagram or anything like that? Can you raise your hand? Yeah, everyone has one. And like, do you know anyone that doesn't? I mean, you probably know like this one weird kid that like doesn't have Facebook or Instagram, but basically everyone has this. So now, given that everyone has this, how would you feel if someone had control over your social media, and if someone had control over what you got and didn't get to see, or your feed, basically? I mean, it probably wouldn't feel very good, and you'd feel intruded. And now, this is basically what's happening with social media and censorship, right? Social media companies are basically censoring what gets and does not get put on their platform, which they have every right to do. But at the same time, it is not really fair for the user for two simple reasons. First of all, tech companies have monopolies on the market. There's only like 2 or 3 companies that own basically all the social media platforms, and you don't really have any other choice. And the other one is we don't get to choose the people who run these companies, given that they're private companies. Now, first of all, I gotta give you a little bit of background on censorship. And censorship is not always a bad thing, and it's not always a good thing. For example, I have a pair of sisters, and they love watching YouTube all day. And I like YouTube to be a safe platform where they won't find pornographic stuff, or inappropriate stuff, or violent stuff. And I really don't want my sisters to watch it, and I would really appreciate if YouTube would block all that kind of content. Now, there's also many other cases where censoring stuff is very important, i.e. safety stuff. For example, let's say someone puts how to build a bomb. You probably might want someone to like block that content so that you don't have crazy kids like blowing up stuff. But then I also have issues with censorship. Well, first of all, if you censor anything that's political or violent, you have problems like back in Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, almost like a year ago actually, we had some social or political issues in the country. And it became a real problem because the government basically took down in like 2 days all the news companies. And so we had no way of knowing what was actually happening in the world, in our country. So the main use of information through the social media. Now, if they had censored all the violent stuff, it could have been very dangerous for everyone in Nicaragua because they wouldn't know what would have been happening and what places were and were not safe. And I also have a problem with the people who choose what does and does not get censored. First of all, and I've mentioned this before, I don't have a say in this. For example, I have a say on who gets chosen as a president and as a public official. I get to vote. But here, given it's a private company, it's basically a few group of guys who says you're in charge of the company. This is what's going to happen, and I don't have any other choice. And also, I don't like the fact that these companies are not really moral authorities. And we can know this by basically these 2 things. For example, Facebook, which is basically one of the biggest social media companies. They own Instagram, they own WhatsApp. They basically sold their soul when they had this issue with Cambridge Analytica. I hope that you all know it, but if you don't, basically Facebook sold users' information, and Cambridge Analytica basically sold it to influence the US election, which is a pretty big deal, right? So Facebook basically, for the sake of money, didn't care about what's doing right or wrong. And you also have Google, a company. I don't have anything against Google, but Google is trying to go into China, which is a very censored country, and they don't care that China is such a repressive regime. They're willing to like censor all their stuff as long as they get a little bit of money from China. Now, many people might say, well, if you don't like Facebook or Google or YouTube, just change the company. But here's the deal. All these companies have monopolistic tactics. First of all, you have Facebook, who started as Facebook, then got Messenger, and they got WhatsApp, and they got Instagram, and tried to buy Snapchat. So you have here like a news article where Facebook basically bought WhatsApp for $19 billion, and they bought Instagram for $1 billion. These 2 companies were emerging, and they're posing a threat to Facebook and all its monopoly. So basically Facebook just bought it. Now, these companies have three ways of taking control of the market. First of all, you have buying the company. You can also ignore it, and you can also kill it. For example, Facebook tried to buy Snapchat, but then Snapchat didn't want to sell the company. Like the owner of Snapchat didn't want to sell the company. So what Facebook did was basically to use Instagram, and basically make it similar to Snapchat. And they're slowly trying to kill Snapchat and get it off the game. That's why Snapchat has recently had several decreasing numbers of users. And then, if you need more proof, Google controls approximately 74% of all searches, right? So basically, the only search engine that works and that people use is Google. And then Facebook receives actually 70% of all ad income. And now I want to talk about why censorship is a threat to freedom of speech and why that is a bad thing. Well, first of all, I believe that if we have a conversation, I think that's something very productive and something that can lead to results. If we only ever think about ourselves and I never talk to, Gabriel, I'll never get to know how he thinks and why he thinks that way. And if, for example, I'm doing something that's harming him, maybe if he talks to me and I hear him out, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this a different way. That way, I will not harm him, and maybe we can be friends, So by talking, we get to agreements and we get to know each other. That is something that I believe it's very, very useful. And when you have censorship, you basically kill all the conversation, right? And then, for my conclusion, basically, I know I have some very extreme ideas on censorship. I don't believe that anything should be censored at all, but I'm also willing to compromise and agree on certain rules that we should be all yes, we should censor this and we shouldn't allow this to be in the public eye. Now, lastly, my goal for this is not to kill Facebook or kill Google. They're just companies. Or I don't want to make this new law that prohibits all censorship or censors everything. I just want you guys to be informed about the subject and to have an opinion about it and start talking about it. Because I believe the conversation is something really good. When we start talking about it, we make it a big deal. And if everyone's talking about it, it becomes a really big deal. And then these companies have to consider what they censor and what they don't censor. And they have to take into account their users.